All right. Well, we can get started. How's it going, everybody out there? You're alive again on the Foresters 30 podcast. Tonight, I have the lovely guest, Genoveva Rossi, and worst gamer ever. He's on with us tonight, Chris, part of the Z Network. How's everybody doing tonight? How are you guys doing? Good?
Good.
Chris?
Yeah, not bad. It's just a little hot and sticky where I am in the New York, New Jersey area. We have a little bit of a heat wave going on this week, so you might hear in the background, like I have my air conditioner and like a bunch of fans going.
Same here. Well, I have a fan going. I'm up in I record like up in my attic, and I'm in upstate New York as well. I'm in Schenectady, and he's in Albany, actually. So we're getting that same nasty, East Coast, ugly heat. Did you guys get a lot of rain today too out there where you're at?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we all got that crappy weather. It was just
it's only making it more humid too.
Yeah,
so.
It sucks. Chris, I can't hear you.
I can't hear him either. What happened?
I don't know.
He probably. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound kind of far, but I can hear you.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Somehow it turned down on me. So sorry.
Whoops.
I was saying, yeah, us big guys, we don't do all that well in this high humidity out here.
It's true.
Medium. We don't either. This heat is. I'm not going to complain about it because I like it better than the winter. I hate winter, so.
That's true. I probably would prefer the summer to the winter because I don't like snow and stuff like that. So.
I hate it. I can't. I hate it. So again, people, we're going to be discussing Army of Darkness as well as other projects that Genoveva has coming up. You got this. Army
of the Dead. I was like, wait.
Army of the Dead. Yeah.
Army of the Dead.
What? It's easy to make that mistake because the names are so similar, and obviously Army of Darkness is one that's been out a long time. It's strange that they made the name so similar to another movie.
I honestly kept confusing it with. I thought there was another one, so I was like, "Wait, is this a remake?" And then I, did some research and I was like, "Oh wait, no, okay, cool."
I think that's what threw me off, Chris, is when me and you were talking about it earlier. One of us slipped up and said it, and the other one corrected the other one, and then I just looked up again.
Yep.
It's more automatic, especially if you're a Bruce Campbell fan, to say Army of Darkness. But this is Zack Schneider's Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead, yeah.
It was, for me, it felt more like an action movie with zombies than like a horror type of thing. But I know Zack Snyder, that's like his thing is the action, the explosions, and all the beautiful cinematic stuff.
Yep.
Beautiful cinematics.
Yeah, it wasn't like a pure straight up horror movie, really. No. It was definitely more of an action movie. It's definitely more of a heist movie. It also has some very dramatic moments. I think I've seen it twice already, and I got a little teary-eyed, especially with the father and daughter relationship that's kind of central to the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've seen it twice. The first time I went to the movie theater because it got a limited release at Cinemark movie theater. And I just thought it would be great to see it on the big screen. And then some of us zombies got together at the Eastern State Penitentiary a couple weeks ago and did a very special screening of just zombies, all of us zombies together watching it.
That had to be something that had to be fun. Something like that.
It's a beautiful penitentiary, if a penitentiary could be beautiful. In Philadelphia, I think it's the oldest prison in the country. And I think it was Al Capone spent some time there as well as other prisons.
Oh, wow.
It's a very famous prison. I think they do these haunted tours there. They no longer have prisoners, though. And coincidentally, Eastern State Penitentiary is where I filmed Death House a couple of years ago with Kane Hodder, Wallace, and Barbara Crampton.
Felissa Rose. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Felissa Rose, yeah.
I wish I had the magnet next to me. I don't remember if I have the movie. I know the movie's on Netflix, but I have Felissa Rose signed the magnet for me a couple of years ago at a con.
Oh, very cool. Very fun.
I gotta go back and watch it.
She's fun.
so freaking nice. She's so now. Have you done cons as far as like going as a celebrity? How
Yeah,
is it?
I was guest with her at a con, I think in Massachusetts, and yeah, maybe some other ones as well. I'm trying to think.
Was
Yeah,
the one
I've done a few cons with her. I've done a bunch of conventions. I've done Chiller. I've done Monster and Robots. I've done, I think, like Monster Con maybe was one of them. I do like toy shows, comic book shows. Sometimes I'm a guest. Sometimes all different kinds of events. And then a couple years ago, I was in the United Kingdom, Birmingham, for Birmingham Horror Con. They flew me out to England for the weekend to do a convention in England. So yeah, I've done a number of conventions over the years. Yep.
the one in Massachusetts, was it and it was probably when I know it was when I missed it. I never went to this con in Mass, but was it called Scaricon maybe possibly?
That's it, Scaricon. I did Scaricon. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I did Scaricon with her, both in Massachusetts and then also at the Turning Stone
Oh,
in New York State, which was like a Native American casino.
yep. That's the one I usually go to for Scaricon.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I was the name was like on my tip of my tongue. Yeah, Scaricon. That was a really fun one. I really enjoyed both of their shows. You know, both were really cool.
and the thing with that con, I love about that con. Don't get me wrong, I love the big cons like Monster Mania, but that one's like smaller, it's personable. You can go around and meet everybody, and then you can also go around and actually talk to the celebrities without, people waiting in line because the lines aren't super crazy and all that stuff. It's just, it's really fun. I miss cons so freaking much.
Oh, they were really good. I remember the security was really tight at them too. Like they were very careful about, I think, people going through metal detectors and things like that. Which, better safe than sorry. And I'm trying to think what else that I liked. Just very well organized. Everybody was really nice, and all of the patrons, the fans that came, were really big horror fans, and everybody seemed to be there to buy stuff. They weren't just there to look. That's for sure.
Oh no. I'll tell you both right now.
Horror community, one of the biggest supporters of each other.
Huge, even with podcasting. But like every time I go to cons now, I give my wife my money because I'm like a child. Like I just go to, but I'll have money set aside for my autographs and then money set aside for stuff I want to buy. But there's been times we go to cons and I get all the autographs I want, and I'm damn near out of money day one, and we're there for the 3-day weekend. I'm like, oh man. So now I'm just like, here, you hold this. I'll hold a few dollars in case I get hungry or want something simple, but you hold the chunk of the money because you know how I get. And it's because like there's so much cool things there, so many awesome vendors there, so many awesome celebrities there that you want to meet, get autographs, and I just cannot help myself. And I can't wait for these to come back.
And they had a great layout too. I like it when you go to a convention, it's like one big giant room.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you have people in a couple different rooms, like you can go through and you get caught up in all the excitement and you forget to go to one of the rooms or something like that,
Been there.
Yeah, that happens. I know that happens at some of the larger cons that like kind of split things up. Like you feel like you need like a map to make sure you see everyone and everything. And sometimes it's nice just to be at this big giant room and just walk through the whole big giant room and you're going to see everybody. And you're more likely to run into your friends as well too.
Yes. I've actually made I made a really good friend at a con, probably a few more than one, but one that really stands out was my friend Matt. Met him at a con, actually out here in Albany a few years ago, which was just over a horror movie. It wasn't a horror convention, but Robert Englund was here, and one or two other people from Nightmare on Elm Street I do not remember. I know Amanda Wiss was here, and then there was two others. And
the last Scaricon,
how did I miss that?
The last Scaricon, we actually screened Death House.
Oh man.
Yeah, I remember that. We screened there. I was just remembering that. That was a couple
I'm
years ago.
unfamiliar with that one. We'll have to check it out.
They had a special screening at Death House, I think on like Friday or Saturday night. And I was there with Camille Keaton. And we were in the front row watching it. And I remember at Scaricon, I did a Scream Queen panel with Camille Keaton and Linnea Quigley.
Oh man. See, that's another thing. That's one thing I do love. I love / I won't say hate. I won't even say dislike really about that con though. Is like for podcasters, they'll let us get in with the media, the media pass, where we can get a table and all that stuff. But they want us to moderate the panels, and it's awesome because you get those opportunities. Like I got to moderate the panel for Friday the 13th Part 7 a few years ago.
Nice.
But the downside, not necessarily negatively, I guess. This is going to be weird, but like you don't get enough tables. You don't get enough time at your table, depending on how many podcasts were there. Like the last time we went, well, the last time ScareCon happened was in 2019 in Rochester in October, and like it was my podcast and maybe two others there, and there was probably like 20 panels. So between the three of us, we had to cover all these panels and stuff. The cool thing about it though is like you get to promote yourself, plus sit with certain people on these stages and get to actually talk with these people, which is awesome. But again, the downside is it's like you don't really get too much table time when those panels, because sometimes they're back to back to back to back to back. But it's one of those experiences that I wouldn't change because I never thought I'd be on stage with some people. I never thought I'd be in a room with these people, let alone sit on stage moderating. Even if it's just me, like, hey, what's your question? And handing the mic off to somebody. Still, to me, that's just like, it's awesome. So I can only imagine acting like you got to, like you
being on a set, interacting with people of legends like Zack Snyder, who's going to go down in history.
For sure. And I end up, I think, on a panel with the two, Camille Keaton and Linnea, because Camille Keaton and I are in Death House, and they wanted us to promote Death House, and Linnea Quigley and I are in a movie called Hunters.
Oh, awesome.
And we're going to be in an upcoming film called Jasper as well.
Awesome. So, I'm just going to limit here. So, horror, is that your favorite genre?
As a movie buff, I really watch everything. But for acting, I would say horror is probably my favorite genre. Ever since I was a kid, I think I wanted to be a horror actress. And the nice thing about horror is that you can keep very busy with it, more than really any other genre. And then it has a great cult following. You get to do these conventions. You get to pretty much shoot a movie every month if you'd like to. I've even shot more than one movie in a day. At certain points. Yeah, I've gone from one set to another in the same day. Because sometimes just scheduling works out that way. And if you tell the first director, what time you have to leave by, sometimes they'll be pretty flexible with you on that, knowing that you're going to another gig and stuff. So yeah, that's what I like about horror. You can keep very busy because horror has a very large and loyal following that you don't really get in other genres. And then maybe that's why Zack Snyder wanted to do Army of the Dead. Now, the funny thing about me doing Army of the Dead is it was kind of an accident because I saw a casting call, I think, on Facebook, be a zombie in a horror movie. Paid. And I didn't really think that much of it, but I submitted my information to the website, which included my headshot and a full body shot of me, like in a bikini or something like that, because they wanted to get a sense of your body type. And I filled out all the information on their website, and I submitted it. And then they got back to me, and they're like, can you send us a couple more full body shots, because we're trying to figure out if you're the right body type to be a zombie in our film. So I was like, okay. So I sent some more pictures. And then they're like, okay, well, we want you to come to Atlantic City on a particular day for training, for zombie training. So I was like, okay. So I showed up that day, and I signed a non-disclosure agreement. And that's when I saw Zack Snyder on the set, and I realized what the movie actually was.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I didn't realize that until I was there,
Mm-hmm.
You know how many of those I just keep scrolling past? Now, hell no, I'm filling those out from now on.
Yeah, you never know with stuff like that because a lot of times when you get a casting call, they don't always put the name of the project. So as an actor, sometimes you just blindly submit to things, which is good. And then later on, you'll figure out how big of an opportunity it is or it isn't. I don't like to overthink things. I think you should just do things, and then you'll figure it out later whether or not it fits like whatever your goals are or whatever. So I just submitted to the zombie movie, not really realizing what it was, and then other people probably didn't submit to it because they just figured, nah, why bother? So I was on set, and I really didn't see any actors I knew from any other film I had ever done, even though there were like, I don't know, like 100 zombies or something like that there. There were dozens and dozens of them there. I ran into one of my friends, a director friend of mine, and also a guy that does a horror convention named Ryan Scott Weber, when I was on set that day, for the first day. It was funny, I was walking through the Showboat to get a cup of coffee, and I run into Ryan, and Ryan's like, "Why are you at the Showboat?" And I'm like, I just came for a cup of coffee. I said, because they have really good coffee here. And he's like, no. He's like, I know they're working on a movie here. And I was like, oh, I'm like, well, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't talk about that, Because people are pretty serious about non-disclosure agreements. You have to really make sure you adhere to that once you sign something like that. And especially somebody like Zack Schneider, he has been extremely careful with the film. They took our cell phones and they filed them away during the shoot every day, so we wouldn't be able to take pictures or text with anyone or talk on the phone with anyone during the shoot. We signed non-disclosure agreements, and we were contractually obligated that if we had to walk around outside, we had to wear a poncho and the hood was up. So no one would see so no one would see what we looked like.
With or without prosthetics or makeup on or anything like that?
Excuse me?
Was that with or without prosthetics, or were you allowed to?
Made up as a zombie.
Gotcha.
It takes hours to get made up as a zombie, and then you spend the day made up as a zombie until you're done.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's how that works. The call times were between 1 and 3 a.m., and it would take up until maybe like 8, 9 o'clock to make up all the zombies between our makeup, our hair, and our clothing, our wardrobe. And then we would start shooting at 8 or 9. And I would say they were probably like maybe like 15, 17-hour days on set, which is not uncommon in the film, work in film work. If you're looking for a glamorous job, acting isn't glamorous. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of being uncomfortable. So I just remember a lot of zombies, laying on the floor, sleeping, waiting, for everybody else to get their makeup done. A lot of zombies eating crafty, drinking coffee, reading a book, waiting until we end up shooting the scenes, because sometimes it could be a long wait. And it took, like I said, a long time to process everybody with their zombie makeup, because some of it got pretty involved. I actually played 2 separate zombies in the film. I play one zombie in the scene where they're going down the corridor to get to the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And there's the Latino woman with the red headband is separated from the group. And I'm in those corridor scenes, like in a kitchen area. And then I'm also in 2 other scenes where there's the pit, where the police officer's being thrown in the pit, and then, the fetus in the pit. Yeah. So, so those were some pretty involved, interesting scenes. I got to played 2 different zombies because I think I fell into 2 different categories as a zombie. They were looking for people that were thin, and they were also looking for people that are pretty athletic looking. Mm-hmm. And I'm both thin and athletic. Like, in fact, I just rushed home and I'm wearing my workout clothes from weightlifting at the gym. I usually weightlift at the gym like 4 times a week. Gotcha. So I got to be an alpha zombie as well as a regular shambler zombie.
Gotcha.
So that was fun. I think quite a few zombies did do double duty, because once you change the person's hair, makeup, and clothes, it's really easy to reuse the same people as multiple zombies. So I think there are some people there that did play 2 or more zombies throughout the film.
That makes sense. I mean, especially with them doing CG to fill in and, spread out the hordes or whatnot. They did a great job with that, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, because they did our makeup, they did our hair and our wardrobe, and then they also did CGI over us all so that we looked extremely well done in the film. So we wouldn't end up looking like people just wearing makeup.
It almost looked like there's probably 3 or 4 different phases of the zombie. Like there was like the turn stage, and then kind of where you get kind of really stiff or rigor mortis looking, and then the after would start to decay or whatnot if I wasn't paying attention correctly. But that's what it kind of looked like. There was multiple stages of it for prosthetics and makeups.
Oh, for sure. There were different kinds of stages of zombies, and then a lot of people are talking about how there were even like these kind of robotic-looking zombies in the casinos that had like blue metallic eyes.
I thought I saw one get shot, and it looked like there was like sparkle of electricity, almost like a Terminator effect. I thought I was going crazy for a second.
I think Zack Snyder put a lot of Easter eggs in the film that's going to open him up to a prequel. You know, that's a big one, what you mentioned and what I mentioned, and also, you know, the dead bodies by the vault, you know, and a whole bunch of other things that are throughout the film that I think are all implanted there. And maybe, you know, you have to watch the movie a couple times to really see all these different Easter eggs. And I think that's going to give us an idea of what you know, the prequel is going to be, and maybe the sequels. It may end up being like a series of films for sure, you know.
I can definitely see it becoming coming out with a couple more films. I can, the way it ended, like on the plane, the guy noticed he got bit and he's looking in the mirror. That's something I could see them doing something with.
P.S. Anybody watching? Spoilers.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, that's interesting. And then also the daughter. I was saying to one of my friends is that I think Zack Snyder made this a little bit of a morality play in a sense, because, you know, one of the characters that really survives is the one that went to Las Vegas with the purest intentions, that didn't do it for the money, but actually did it for someone else. You know? You know, so I think there was a little bit of a moral thing. And then you have to think about the whole plot of the movie is that, you know, there was a zombie apocalypse. We locked the zombies in friggin' Las Vegas, and you want to break in because you want to make a couple $1 million. You're willing to jeopardize the safety and the lives of the whole world? That has huge moral implications for our characters. Like, what kind of people are they?
Yeah, that's a great point.
You know?
That's a good point. And that even goes back to how, going back to, you know, people say money is the root of all evil. And that, I mean, that there's no better example of something like, let's go in a place where there's a bunch of zombies that we just lock them there. They can't get anywhere but they're there. Let's go there and get this money and risk a bunch of lives because we want this money. Like, there's other ways of getting money.
Exactly. They're literally willing to risk the lives of the whole entire world so that they can get some money. And some of them are going there for less money than others. Like, some people are going there for $200,000. Some people are going there for a couple million. Everybody has
they all got their price.
Yeah, everybody's got a price, and for some people it's higher, and some people it's lower for them to do this, you know? And it's kind of interesting. And then for one character, she's motivated by her love and her compassion for another person.
That's true.
Kudos to you, Zack Snyder, for writing this. You and your writers. You know, the little undertones, you know, that's yeah. Kudos to you, sir.
I didn't even think about the undertone.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because then, like we said, you know, it also plays off to with a little social undertone of our present time and what we're dealing with, and, you know, people before not wanting to wear masks, feel was going to help people, this, that, and the third, current situations and how it's evolving currently. I mean, good job, Mr. Snyder. Good job.
He did it in a different way.
He filmed it way before our current pandemic. We actually shot this movie in 2019.
Yeah, so that's there. Oh, God.
But it was released at the right time then. Just to fit into what you were saying, Chris, it was definitely released at the right time because it just fits this moment. It was a Netflix thing, which is smart. A lot of people still, I mean, I'm one of them that's still working from home, so it's like I can easily go on the Netflix and throw something on. A lot of people are still unemployed, unfortunately, which I hope that does change. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are still at home, and theaters are closed, so it was smart to put it on. It was very intelligent to put it on a streaming platform. And not only, I mean, they put it on Netflix. That was the first big streaming platform. People, I think, most people still have Netflix when they're getting it. So it was smart. It was really smart.
Yeah, it was a Netflix studio film, and I think the budget was around $90 million.
Nice.
You can definitely see it in the visuals. They spent every penny of that in this movie because Like that is one thing I do like about what Zack Snyder does with his films is he really does make the film look really, really, really good, and just that alone is awesome.
Yeah,
Oh
like
yeah, they took different locations, and then they rented a few casinos. You know, they really like spared no expense. But then it was funny because remember the first day I was on set, the one PA was really upset because they didn't order enough food for the day. He was like, "I can't believe we're working on a Zack Snyder film with all these people, and they didn't order enough food for everybody." And now he's like, "Now I have to order more pizzas," you know. And like it's like a funny thing to go wrong on such a big budget film.
Yeah.
But I said to him, I'm like, but it shows you that whether you're on an independent film or a large budget film, you know, mistakes and oversights can definitely happen. Like not getting enough food for everybody.
Yeah.
But I said to the guy, I said, you know, if that's the worst thing that goes wrong today, that won't be that bad, you know, because obviously, you know, a lot of films, you know, you have injuries and you know, and a lot of other things that can occur. So, you know, having to wait, you know, 30 extra minutes for pizza isn't really the end of the world, quite, you know. But I just thought it was funny that would happen on like a $90 million movie because that's the kind of thing that would happen on an indie film where somebody forgets to get enough pizza for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, you're right because I feel like it's one of those.
You had one job,
but it's one of those things to where I'm sure people on the outside looking in, as far as like a Hollywood movie or Netflix budget, whatever the budget is, like this is a $90 million budget. They're not going to make any mistakes. And I mean, like you said, it was that, but I think people forget at the end of the day, we're all human. Like that stuff does happen. Just because this has more money to it doesn't mean that stuff's not going to go wrong. And another
exactly right. And then what I want to say too is that they filmed part of the movie in New Mexico and part of the movie in Atlantic City, and I think they had slightly different crews.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of a learning curve on the first day of shooting, working with new people, and probably, you know, learning the whole chain of command and communicating well with everybody.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And one thing I do like that you said too was about how, you're actually, I believe, the second person that said this on here. They really do enjoy acting, but acting is not like this beautiful painting, so to speak, that you see that Hollywood puts on, or like how this movie looks beautiful. It's like, no, it's a lot of hard work. It's tough, it's rough. It's not just you're going on set, everything goes perfect. You do your lines. It's not like a one take thing where you just do it and go home. It takes days, weeks, months, sometimes years for movies to be done and produced, and that right there shows a lot of passion and like a lot of commitment for everybody involved. It's like
a lot of egos moving out of the way to make it come together, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people won't do it. There's a lot of people that just be like, you know what? I thought this was going to be, you know, how I see it on TV, and it's going to look like that once it's all said and done. But the build to it is never like that.
Well, that's true. I remember there was one moment on the film set where we were like, you know, we're doing that corridor scene, and we're working really long hours. We've probably been on set like 17 hours, but Zack Snyder really needs to capture the scene before the day's over. And one girl was kind of complaining, you know, like, I want to go home. I'm sick of this. I need to go. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I've been in like a lot of movies, and this is pretty much acting. It's like putting in these really long, tedious, hot days. So maybe you have to think about maybe the theater would be better for you, you know? Because you never really get away from it. I think even Brad Pitt said that at the Golden Globes a while ago, that, you know, actors are a special sort of people who are putting in these 15, 17-hour days. Even Brad Pitt puts in those kinds of days. You never get away from it, no matter how successful you get. You still have to put in that kind of hard work. You know, like, you know, when he worked on Fight Club and everything, I'm sure he put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that and everything, too. That's just the industry. That's just the industry.
Yep.
Now,
you know, if you want to work like, you know, 7-8 hour days and you don't want to sweat, if you don't want to be cold, if you don't want to be covered with fake blood and latex, you know, it might not be, you know, what you want to do.
Yeah.
You got up on the wrong side today. Go back. go get that desk job.
Yeah, the only glamorous part you really have is like later on when you're at the film festival or you're at an awards ceremony, you're doing the red carpet, you're wearing your pretty dress, you got your hair done, and that's kind of like the glamorous moment as an actor. But that's only a fraction of the time in your life as an actor. It's a small fraction of it. You know, you're at a red carpet event for maybe 2 hours. You're on a film set 15 hours a day, maybe for a week. You know, that's not quite even.
Yeah.
It's one of those things though. I love and respect it so much, and I love like when especially more nowadays they do it with the DVDs and the Blu-rays, like the behind the scenes stuff. I like seeing how stuff is like made and put together. Like I love as far as like special or practical effects, let's say somebody can make like a head that looks just like your head, and they have to like explode it in the movie, and I'm just like, okay, you mean to tell me you spent 60 hours making this beautiful masterpiece just for it to get destroyed in 2 minutes? And not only that, you only made one, so you have to like do that perfect. Like you can only explode things one time. It's like you can only do this one time to explode this head, and I'm always in awe with stuff like that. I'm like, that's so freaking amazing.
And that happens a lot in the horror genres, that sometimes people assume that people in horror movies don't act well. But what you have to understand is that in horror, a lot of times we do have a lot of physical special effects. Like when I did Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Mania, I have a scene where I'm shaving my leg, I cut myself, and blood starts spurting everywhere. We had to do that in one take. How often do actors in other genres have to do everything perfect in one take?
Very true.
That doesn't happen too much in drama. It doesn't happen too much in comedy.
That's very, very, very true.
Yep.
Now with horror, do you have like a favorite subgenre? Like for me, slasher is my all-time favorite. But I love horror all across. But slasher is like the one thing that just probably because I'm so used to, because I've been watching it since I was little. Like that's the ones that were like the most popular, in the 80s and 90s. But do you have your favorite?
I would say probably like horror comedies I like a lot, and that's why I've just written, directed, and started a movie called Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie. I was working on that with our production company, Cluck Cluck Productions, and Dave Stein. And it's a film that probably will come out next year, it's looking like, because of some of the pandemic delays and stuff that we faced. But yeah, it's kind of like a combination of a horror comedy, I guess science fiction, and kind of pays homage to a lot of the ultra low budget B-rated movies that I enjoyed in the past, like Kingdom of the Spiders, Night of the Living Dead, maybe movies even like Planet of the Apes, which probably wasn't B-rated. What other movies does it pay homage to? Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, things like that. A lot of these movies that I grew up really like loving, because sometimes I like being in a higher quality, higher budget films, but then there's this I love camp, and I love like the ultra low budget allure that's there, that you get in these certain types of movies that I've been in and that are out there. Like the Room. They're just like the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. They just have like a certain fascination for people. I was actually even watching stuff. Oh, there it goes. That's me on the cover there, wearing my animal print pajamas, and there are the space chickens getting out of their spaceship there.
I'm watching this movie.
It's pretty intense.
Check it out.
I love horror. My favorite horror comedy is actually Thanksgiving, the Killer Turkey. Have you seen that one?
What is it called?
It's called Thanksgiving.
Oh no, I don't think I thought it was Thanksgiving. Who's in it?
I don't know who the actors are in it, but
excuse me.
It's on, what is that? Tubi. You ever use the app Tubi?
No, I don't. I usually use Amazon Prime or Netflix.
It might be on Prime, but Tubi is similar to those. It's free. It's just you have ads. You have like a 30-second commercial, here and there. That picks right back up. But if you like horror comedy and like the real silly, outrageous stuff, I think you enjoy Thanksgiving. And you can ask Chris. I'm always promoting this movie like they're paying me, but they're not. They don't even know I exist.
You would think he wrote it.
It's just one of those like This Attack of the Killer Chickens movie, I have to see that. I have to.
Well, Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie, is this because it's actually based on a short film I did a couple years ago called Attack of the Killer Chickens. And it was a 6.5-minute short that I wrote, directed, and starred in with a couple of my friends. We shot it pretty much in one day, and then we edited and put it together. And it went to, I think, maybe 40, 50 film festivals and won, I think, 7 or so awards.
Awesome.
And that was my concept. And I got producers involved, and then we decided to make it a feature. And I wrote the short with the idea that I had this idea that if it was successful and I thought it had legs, could be branched out into a feature film.
Wow, that's awesome.
Nice.
And I thought the title was so perfect that I had to change it to Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie. So, because you can't have two films with exactly the same name. So one's, Attack of the Killer Chickens, and that's just a short film. And then this is going to be the movie. Attack of the Killer Chickens, the movie.
Now, the short film, is that anywhere where we can watch that? Like, if I wanted to watch that, or?
I usually sell it to people, so I haven't put it online. Believe it or not, I've done pretty well putting it on DVD and selling it to people at conventions, which is another reason why I felt like I wanted to make it a feature, because people already were buying it. A short film that's 6.5 minutes long, people were paying $10 or $20 for it. So I felt like, we should branch that out to a feature that kind of shows its potential. It did very well when it was played at different film festivals and conventions. The first time I did a test screening was at, I think, the Martinsville Horror Convention that I was a guest at, and I played it, and everybody was like, wow, that was really cool. They're like, if we have time, can we watch it again? So we played it a second time. Which is not always the feedback that you get on
yeah.
You actually want to watch it immediately again, after watching it. But I think it was maybe it was a little shocking. And maybe you have to watch it twice the first time to completely absorb it.
Oh yeah, like I said, that type of stuff I will sit down and watch and just enjoy it and laugh, because I'm the type of, I know how to take like a horror comedy. I know how to take it as it is. You just kind of turn your brain off, so to speak, and just take it as it is. You don't take it as like a serious horror movie, which I think people go into those horror comedies thinking that. As far as some viewers, I mean, and they kind of then they're just like, oh, it's not my type of thing. It was like, that's what it's supposed to be. Like, you got to just. I can't.
Yeah, if you go into it with any type of judgmental picture or expectation, then you're just gonna rip the thing apart and just watch the thing. Just try to be entertained by it.
It's a bizarre movie. My friend Edward X. Young, that worked on the film, said my directing style was like if John Waters and Ed Wood had a baby, I would be their baby.
That's awesome. So, what's your favorite horror comedy then? If you had to choose just one, and I'll say one that you're not in, just to make it fair.
I guess one of my favorite ones that I always really enjoyed was like Shaun of the Dead. I thought was a really fun one.
Okay.
That one was, yeah.
That was a really fun one because I love how like the main character there works at Best Buy or whatever, but he becomes like the hero of the movie, and then all these other people that are so much more accomplished than him, really aren't equipped to survive a zombie apocalypse, and he takes everybody to his favorite bar, to try to survive there. And then it ends up being not that terrible of an idea. But, it reminds me of one of my friends who was a fire chief. And he said, sometimes in an emergency situation, the most important thing is to have a plan. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a good plan. And Sean in the movie has a plan.
He definitely did. After he figured out what was going on, because it was funny how him and his friend got up the next day. They were just going about everything like everything was normal. Everybody in the town is zombie, besides a handful of people, and they're just going around like everything's normal, don't know what's going on until it finally hits them. I was just like, this is so ridiculous, but it's funny and it works.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a pretty good one, and I guess that's what would happen. It would take a little while for things to evolve, because you even see that with our pandemic, which is a little bit like a zombie apocalypse, is that not everybody realized we were in a pandemic when the pandemic began, because
Mhm.
not everybody watches the news.
True.
You know, I know
True.
some people that really, up until like the final moment of us like officially having to stay home, getting locked down, had no idea what was coming. And then you could see how that's very much like life, because not everybody really keeps up on things like that. Like, you know, international news, world news, what's going on every moment. You know, we can do that on our cell phones. I actually have like a news app that sends me headlines all day that I can just scroll through, so it keeps me kind of abreast of things. But not everybody does that. Some people are just kind of living in their own world and have no idea what's going on. And then, you know, you turn around and you have a pandemic, you turn around and there's a zombie apocalypse, and nobody told you. You're like, wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is true though. I think it's a little. It's that, and then it's because of the way social media is. Like, as soon as it's out on the news, it's out on social media, which a lot of people are on. I feel like a lot of people just choose to ignore it too, as well as like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not going on. So it's just, all right, man. When a zombie comes and shoots your arm off, I don't want you to call me, talk about stuff. I need some help because it's not a big deal. That's exactly what I tell you. I'm home. I'm locked in. I'm barricaded like they told me to be. You said it wasn't a big deal. You want to go outside and get bit by a zombie? I'm here.
Or you're faced with a situation like Batista's character was faced with in the flashback there, you know, with his wife in the room, you know. That's when shit gets real.
Yeah, those were some interesting scenes with him. And for Batista, it was a great movie because I think he really got to showcase his acting ability as a dramatic actor.
We were talking about that too.
Yeah, I touched on it. I sympathize for the guy because I know his story, and I know he's out there. He's trying to go for that superstar. There's some scenes that I'm like I can connect with, and some scenes that I was like, all right, man, like, all right. They must have just said, all right, we got it. Just roll with it. Just keep it going. Yeah, I'm a fan of him, but like I said, there's some parts I feel like he still had a little pity grin on his face, like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm still doing this. Like, I can't believe I'm acting. I feel like I saw that come through.
Okay, well, you know, he probably has done more action roles than dramatic roles.
Yeah, especially with, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy and such.
A learning curve going, perhaps, really getting him full experience. Because you can look at like any actor. I look at myself. Heath Ledger could have looked at himself, or Michael Caine, and I'm sure you see that actor's evolution.
Oh, absolutely.
Years. Like the first movie with Michael Caine versus like Michael Caine's most recent movie, I'm sure he's evolved so much from film to film that he might be embarrassed when he looks at like his first couple of dramatic films. And that's true of a lot of actors. Some of us take classes, and some people kind of jump in the helm and learn by actually doing the film.
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm excited for future stuff to come out and stuff like that. Like I said, you can tell in some of those scenes, like he really connects and he's in his mode, he's in his character, So I'm excited for it.
And we'll see him develop and things like that. Probably the film will get a little bit more more depth to his acting. I'm sure we'll.
Yeah, let's get rid of John Cena for a little while and The Rock for a week or two.
You know what I did like about the film though is and nothing, I don't have anything against Batista, but like when his character died off, the only reason why I say that is because usually when a big name is like the headline of a film, especially with horror, they don't die. And I liked how they took it to that work, because I was expecting him to survive through the whole movie and kind of have a happy ending, and he didn't. And then the same with Amari Hardwick's character when you find out he gets bit on his arm. I like that thing too, because you're just like, okay, he's the guy pushed him in the safe. You didn't see him until like later in the movie when he comes out and gets to that airport. I like things like that because it throws that curveball. There's so many movies that seem like they're so pretty. Like, okay, once it gets to a certain point, these guys are still alive. Okay, so they get off in the helicopter, and like I like how that scene didn't go. It didn't go as planned. I say that in quotes as what the plan was as far as the actors in the movie. Like, okay, we're gonna hop in this helicopter and get safe. Like more stuff happened, and I like how I love when movies end like that, because it's just it leaves you on a cliffhanger, and it's like, okay, there may be more coming, or it may end like that. But when I'm not gonna say I don't like happy endings in movies, but I hate when like 90, like 100 horror movies come out and like 99 of them have a happy ending. Like this is a horror movie. Like, come on now, let the evil win in some of these movies. Let something happen. Let something crazy happen at the end that's not predictable. And that's one thing I can definitely say that was awesome about that was just I'm like, okay, a big name. They did that, and I think it works. I think it really works and it helps. It'll draw more people into, okay, yeah, he's going to survive. This is like every other type of movie with these big name guys in it. And then when that happened, I'm like, okay, that was cool.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
I didn't. And that's what I mean by that. Like, I didn't see it coming. I was expecting him to just be there for the whole film.
So how long were you on set for and doing all that stuff for? I'm so sorry.
No problem. And then, like, I feel like the movie, like, the subplot was, like, his relationship, with his daughter, and that kind of comes to a head in the end. And in the end is the only time he really gets forgiveness and really redeems himself as a father.
Very true. Very true.
So I think that was, like, kind of like a central kind of theme of the movie, was him and his relationship with his daughter. And in a sense, going to Vegas and doing this whole thing was for him to have this closure and to get back, in touch with his daughter. And unfortunately, he had to, like, maybe die to do that. And then the irony, of course, is that the daughter is the only one that gets any of the money. And that was never something she even wanted.
Yeah, and like you were saying, she was the only one that was pure, that was going there to help save someone else. She wasn't going there for the money at all, not for greed, and she's the one that survives the whole thing.
Well, maybe everybody kind of had to die for their sins in a way because of what they wanted. And then you wonder about the gentleman and the plane. He knows he's a zombie. The right moral thing, I guess, would be to shoot himself in the head. But is he going to do that?
See, and what's funny is me and Chris were debating this earlier today. Like that scene right there. It's like, what happens next? How soon does he turn? Like how long does it take for them to turn? That's one. And like, how soon is he going to turn? How far are they from their destination? Are they going to get to the destination before he turns? Is he going to let them know? Like, what's going to happen? And
if he does turn, does he become a new alpha?
That's another one.
Yeah.
If he turns, does he wipe out the whole crew and then the plane crashes and it's over anyway? So many questions.
I do feel like they would make it to the next destination because that would make. I mean, if they wanted to do a sequel, then it's like, okay, now instead of it being in Vegas, it can be in, let's say, New York City. It can start in New York City and spread from there because there's so many people in New York. Maybe he doesn't say anything. By the time he changes is when he's home, comfortable with his family. He bites somebody in his family, and it kind of goes from there. And then you have a crazy movie in New York.
Well, and that's like another kind of narcissistic thing is that, he has this money, he wants to live, but he knows he's been bitten by a zombie, and he knows what the outcome will be. Will he kill himself, or is he going to put his own needs and his own life ahead of everyone else, knowing that he's doomed anyway?
It can go in so many directions. I mean, does he somehow make it at least to home, or maybe somehow give his money to his family, and then he's just like, I gotta go, type of deal? Like, what? Something can happen from that, but because of horror, of course, you would like it to be he goes to New York and starts biting people in a sense, and it kind of just starts over again. Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Well, and they had said at one point in the movie that this might just be like a cycle that they're repeating.
Yep, he said it when he was down in the vault.
And what does that remind you of? This is getting a little biblical too, like where you're kind of just like trapped over and over again, repeating something that's kind of like a pattern that's completely useless. I think maybe Las Vegas was hell.
Purgatory, yep.
Or even purgatory, yeah.
Wow. Damn, I never even thought about it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch this movie.
Yeah, I feel like there was maybe some religious symbolism there, like karma, the true of heart person, being in this place. And then another thing that was really interesting too is that we have this reoccurring theme in the movie that we have these human beings and we have them going through Vegas, and they think they're better than the zombies, that they're more human. But they're double crossing and betraying each other, and they're there for money. But you see the zombies, And like Zeus is motivated by love.
Yes, they even mentioned, one of them even mentioned that in the movie. They were like, we're all turning our backs on each other, and the quote unquote
It was Lily.
zombies are sticking together. They have each other's back.
It was the blonde
Especially
Lily, the
Zeus
coyote.
with his queen and with his unborn child. He is thinking about love, and he's thinking about his family
Mhm.
and his fellow zombies. So it's almost like he's more compassionate to his own kind than the human beings are in the film.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very and the crazy thing is that with the reality of it is that's how people are in real life. There's people that just care about themselves more than anything, more than even they care about their own family. It's that I'll put it to, they care about money more than they care about anything else, even themselves. It's like, okay, well, because it's like, if you're thinking about this again, all these zombies, all these things that can kill you and destroy you are in Vegas. They can't get out. Nothing, you know what I mean? They're stuck there. You want to go there, bring yourself there for money, knowing that you have a chance of dying. I'm like, why? I'll just stay. Aaron, you want to go?
And
No.
it's about to be blown up and have that threat permanently erased.
That too. That right there to show you how greedy people really are. Like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, back to the zombies' connection to each other or whatnot. I mean, even the animals or whatnot, the horse, the tiger, all, they're not leashed, they're not being commanded, they're not enslaved. They're free and working with them. Like, hey, we're all here for each other. We're all watching each other. Let's go.
Which the tiger, I loved. That was just awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, they're organized. They're organized like a society.
Mm-hmm.
So people can learn something. Act like the zombies. Basically, and I don't mean by killing and biting. I mean
it's just simplify things.
Sticking together.
That's it. Oh boy. So, what's one of your favorite days on set?
It's a pretty interesting movie to analyze.
It really is. What was that? What'd you say?
There's more layers to it than you realize maybe the first time you watch it, and you can think about it. And then we also have to think, psychologically, where was Zack Schneider, who was a very nice man? He seemed like a very kind man. He seemed like a very compassionate man. I think he's adopted a number of children with his wife, and this was his first movie after losing his daughter, who, I think, took her own life.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's why the Snyder Cut came out, because he had to hand over the project. They finished it. I think J.J. Abrams, or I forget, but the whole nother team essentially finished it off of his project and then put it out for the company. And then later on, the fans kind of rallied behind him and was like, "Hey, let him finish the movie. Let him do his version of the movie that he wanted to put out." And that's where the Snyder Cut came from. And it was after all of that with his daughter and everything as support to him that the fans just came out.
Got it.
And I think he took some time off to be with his family, and I think to do some volunteer work with people, with suicide prevention, people with drug issues, to kind of, process his grief. And then this was his film that he came to, coming back as a director and all. So, he may have been carrying, some of his own internal thoughts, feelings, and emotional stuff, and putting that into the film a little bit too, which I think you can't help but do as a director or an actor, to use your creative outlets to help you process your own feelings, your own grief.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't know any of that. Honestly, I didn't know any of that.
But you're gonna make me start watching movies with a whole new scope.
Well, I think when I saw him on set those days, I did see like maybe he was kind of getting back into the swing of things, and there was maybe a little bit of a vulnerability to him that maybe he doesn't normally have on the set, because here he is, he went through a very traumatic episode, probably one of the worst things a human being could experience in their life, and he's getting back into the helm, and to do Army of the Dead after losing your most most beloved, your beloved child, and doing a film that is so death centric and gory and things like that, must have been challenging.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I could see that, and then I can also see it being therapeutic because he loves to create, and maybe it's just that one thing to where, like with this, like I always tell people, I'm genuinely a happy person, but like with this doing podcasting and stuff, it's still like that getaway for an hour or however long I'm recording for. It's just that getaway, just to kind of have these interviews, to review movies or whatever the case may be, and then it takes you out of reality for a little bit. So I'm sure with him, hopefully that takes him out of reality, and just for that little bit of time to kind of let your mind rest and be at ease. You're doing something you really love, then you're going back to the real world. You're just like, okay, now it's time to do what you got to do, take care of business, and come back and do your passion.
I wonder if there's any type of connection between him and his daughter or whatnot. Maybe that was their favorite genre to watch together or whatnot, horror, zombie films. So he was like, hey, let me pitch this idea. I've had it and went with it. But it worked out for him.
And it might
worked out for a lot of you.
Yeah.
And it might be why the central focus of the movie is a man and his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the director lost his daughter. And, and he kind of rewrote the story in the end where the father sacrifices himself for his daughter, in a sense,
Which I know for a fact any parent would do.
Any father would do for their child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you would want to rewrite it,
Yeah.
Story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch this with a different lens now.
Oh, for sure. Because a lot of people watched it and they were just like, you either loved it or you hated it. Some people thought it was stupid. They didn't really see the depth of it. But I really think you watch it twice and you really pick up on the subtlety of it, and you understand Zack Snyder and you understand the characters a little bit more. And I think there is some subtlety to it that maybe you don't pick up at first because of the action, and following the action on the first viewing kind of grabs your attention more than everything. Everybody's getting shot, everybody's running around, people are dying. But I think there's a little bit of a subtext there too,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to give, because like for me, going into this and like watching it, I was like in the middle. And the reason why I was in the middle is because to me, like I said in the beginning of the episode, it was more action for me than horror. So that right there, it felt like action movie with zombies, but all the other stuff, the other part of the story that we were all just discussing, you really don't, like you just said, actually, you really don't pay attention to, because you're watching the action. You're watching people, you're watching the zombies, you're watching the gunfight, all this other stuff. You're not really paying attention to the story. It's like the noise is kind of blocking it out in a sense. Now that we had the discussion, I'm like, I got to go back and rewatch it again and kind of watch the story of it more so, especially, with the father and daughter, and then in between with everybody else, with every character that died because of the way they were acting throughout the movie. I mean, you had, I can't think of his name, but he was in Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And which character was he?
The cop from the camp or whatnot that ended up going with them and being sacrificed.
Oh, his last name was Rossi. He had the same last name as me, I think.
Okay.
I think his first name is Theo. I think, but
it might be Theo Rossi. Yeah, he'll just forever be Juice from Sons of Anarchy for me.
Got thrown in the pit and turned into an alpha.
Yes. But he was like, as far as evilness, he was one of the most evil characters in the thing, and he was one of the first ones to get, as far as once they got to that camp, to that area, he was one of the first ones to get taken.
Yeah,
that's true.
Exactly
Yeah.
Right. Well, he was, they brought him along to be like, I guess, to be their sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I was like, now again, having this conversation, it makes more sense as to how the people died and how they died off. It seemed like the greediest ones or the worst ones died off first, and then the ones that were kind of trying to make a change, they survived a little bit longer. Because even with like with Batista's character, he has a better relationship with his daughter, and then with Omari Hardwick's character, there was the guy who cracked the safes. When at first he was like, "What can he do with us?"
Yeah,
the guy ended up saving his life.
Or was it Geeter?
That guy ended up saving his life by pushing him when all the zombies are coming after him, and the guy, pushes him in the safe, closes the safe and sacrifices himself for him. And like right there, he wanted to jump up and help, but he couldn't because he was too hurt. So I'm like, okay, he's starting to change. And I liked how that's another thing I did. That's one thing I did like about it too is like the characters that they did develop, that they had time to develop more. You've seen from beginning to how some of them grew, and some of them, the ones that grew, they lasted longer in the movie. The ones that didn't, they kind of just they died off a little sooner.
Well, like that Coyote character, she left some of the people in the city in the past. She had maybe some guilt and some issues weighing on her throughout the film, and then she makes a mistake in who she trusts, and that ends up backfiring, and they end up betraying, Zeus and the Queen, and then in the end, she kind of, I guess, balances out her karma by sacrificing herself.
Mm-hmm. And you had the I forgot what he was, but the one guy who came in and he locked the thing on her, and he was gonna try to get away with the zombie's head, and he ends up getting killed.
Oh, he's a tiger, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he got tore up. And it wasn't. What I liked about that too is because I was just like, this guy's such a jerk. I was like, I
he
can't.
deserved that.
There's always those one or two characters in a film that you just get that bad vibe. Just they're just gonna come in there just to be all about them. Like with him, when he comes in, when they're all discussing the plans and all that, he's just like, I can get you guys into the casinos, this, that, and the third. And I'm just, there's just something I don't like it, but there's just something I get a bad vibe of this guy. There's just something I know he's going to turn on them at some point. He's going to do something and show the true colors, which he did, but it didn't turn out.
Well, you know that because he was sent by that Japanese businessman who gave them the blueprints and gave them this whole idea.
That's true.
Who was almost like the devil, really. He's tempting them, almost like how Jesus was tempted in the desert. And this is a desert. And then we have this man tempting them all these righteous people that had been heroes in the past. Heroes that saved people to now go into this desert and be tempted by money. I think he might have been
called Sin City.
That you know what too, another connection with that too. I remember where they're all when Batista first was offered this plan or this go here, take this money, and blah blah. Here's what I'm going to give you and your team. And like at first, he's he's thinking about it. He gets the team together, and as it goes on, it was about the money for him, and then it changed from that to about his daughter, and then that was like his main. Like, as long as my daughter's good, I'm good, basically. And yeah, I got to rewatch it. I have to rewatch it now that because again,
think about that. That man that lures him, away from his job as a cook, knowing that he was this big hero that we see at the beginning of the movie, and all of his friends were these heroes. And that saved people, that saved humanity, and now they're finally going to do something for themselves. They're going to go there, and we're going to get this movie and this money and do it for ourselves. He's tempting these people. They're and tempting this man that's normally a good man. Very
true.
To do something terrible. I thought maybe when I was watching the movie the second time, I thought maybe he represented the devil.
I can see that, and then I can also see it how. Where you have these heroes at first, and it's kind of like we did all this, we saved humanity, but we got nothing for it. Like we shouldn't have to work in a sense, or we shouldn't have to be struggling to survive. And so it's easy to go to these people like, listen, I can give you this much. You go here and do this for me. I can give you this much money. You can share it with the team however you want to, because what did he say, like 50 million, right?
And then 200 million or something like that, and they were going to get 54, so he can divvy up.
Yeah, but I was listening to but he's like, okay, you're going to get 500,000, and then another guy, you're going to get 200,000, you're going to get this, and it just kept trickling down to where which I get, but I can see how the money did tempt them, especially where it's like, okay, we saved humanity, and I'm here flipping burgers on a grill. Like, I shouldn't have to be doing this. I should be signing,
But isn't saving humanity kind of its own reward too?
It should, yeah, it should be. Yes, but at the same time, I do feel, and this goes into which I don't want to get too deep into it, like with the military stuff. I do feel if you go and fight for this country, when you come back, I don't feel like you should have a house. You shouldn't have to work. Like you fought for this country, you fought for all this, and then you have to come back and maybe not have a house, maybe be broke, and all this other stuff. You should be taken care of for the rest of your life. That's how I feel, and that's
That might be a theme of the movie too. Maybe that's a message from it as well. You know, a subtext.
yeah. And I mean, it's because you're going to do something where you might not come back home. And with this movie, I mean, it's different because it's like you're going through something that you don't have to do at all. Like that's this
Right, you're
thing
making a
like
conscious
that
choice.
anyway. You're doing it for the greed. You're doing it for the money. But at the same time, if you were taken care of properly when you came home or whatever from saving humanity, you wouldn't be going to do this. But who knows? There is a lot of people who have a lot of money and they're still greedy as hell. Like, oh man, that nickel just fell on the ground. I got to get that nickel. You're a millionaire. But yeah, that nickel right there, that needs to get my piggy bank as well. Like I need to have.
That's how you become a millionaire.
Mm.
To an
You know,
extent,
with that kind of,
true.
you know, if you know anyone that's rich, you know, that's the kind of attitude that makes you a millionaire. You know. But another thing I noticed too, and I guess it's a little political, and I'm not going to get into it too much, is that the camps that they have with a lot of you know, Latino people remind me of the camps we have in the United States for illegal immigrants, and I think Zack Schneider put that in there on purpose as well.
So I said there's a lot of little social undertones in there. I wasn't gonna pick on that one too, but I saw a lot of them there.
And then when they were doing the temperature checks on people to see if you had become a zombie,
Yeah, you're using the infrared thing, and you're talking about this was 2 years ago. Like, where's this coming from? Talking about art imitating life, right?
You know
exactly.
what's
I'm like,
really,
oh my God,
really
that's my life. Every time I go somewhere.
Every time, yeah. You know, the first 3 months we went to work, if we could go to work, you know.
I just went to the dentist yesterday, and they had one of those little just beep, check my temperature, and I'm just like, oh man. Like I've been to, you know, I've been there a couple times, been out a few times where they had to check a temperature like that, and I'm just like, this is crazy. This is getting ridiculous. And where the hell do these damn thermometers come from? I've never seen them. I'm 35 years old. I've never whole life for these 2 years.
I've owned several of them to work on vehicles, to use them for infrared thermometers on vehicles. That's what I use them for.
And now they're using them on us.
And yeah, now I'm checking myself. I'm like, wait, I got a tickle in the throat. Hold on.
Another thing though is I don't think that those things are a bad idea because it's better than sticking a thermometer in somebody's mouth just for the germs, obviously. So it's like beep, 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 beep. So now I want more places to have them. Like when you go to the doctor's, like you're not taking my temperature like that anymore, doc. Just scan my forehead. Yeah, get one of them guns. It's beep.
It's easier than an anal or oral thermometer.
I'm just gonna deal with whatever, however I'm feeling. Nope, I'm good.
But Theo was his character was willing on using his rectal one if he had to.
Yeah. These gun thermometers are really as accurate as like a regular thermometer that you would use anally or orally is, though.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of people have told me that, you know, when you're using those gun ones, they told me they were outside on a hot day doing people before they were going into a convention. And they said when the gun's out in the heat for too long, it affects like the results and things. You have to be kind of careful. Certain things will affect, you know, the temperature reading. It's very sensitive.
I mean, that does make sense though, because anything sitting out in the heat for too long is going to get hot.
And plastic.
It's
plastic.
They're not always 100% accurate. And then I was at the mall in Short Hills a while ago, and the guy at Giorgio Armani, I think it was. No, Christian Dior. He was doing somebody's temperature check, and they came out with a temperature, and they said, oh, I had just run to the mall. I think that's why my temperature's up. And he said, you know, that happens. So he's like, come back in a half hour and I'll do your temperature again, and it might be in a normal range, and I'll let you in, Christian Dior, you know? So it seems like there's a lot of, you know, variance with them. Like they're not like as accurate as we would like them to be.
Yeah.
You know? But what can you expect when you're shooting at somebody versus putting in their mouth or in their butt, you know? It's not the
Yeah,
same.
physical contact versus right.
But it is more hygienic because we would all have COVID because we would be sitting in there.
Yeah, exactly.
My
Exactly.
pet peeve with those thermometer guns is some people touch your forehead with it, and you shouldn't really be touching people with it because if you did that with everybody, would probably give everybody COVID. The whole point of the gun is to not touch people with it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, about that.
That's my
Well,
pet. That was a little bit of my pet peeve.
Oh no, I'm with you on that.
Did it wrong. You know, I'm like, make sure it's a couple inches from me. You're
Yeah.
not touching your forehead with it, you know? Because I don't know when the last time you cleaned it was and how many people you've been touching with it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, this whole year has really taught me. I was always a little bit of a germaphobe, but now maybe more so.
Yeah.
I won't necessarily say I was a germaphobe per se, but I was one like before I eat, I'm gonna wash my hands. Obviously, I mean, after you use the bathroom, you learn this when you're a baby. Damn near, wash your hands with soap and water. And I mean, pre-COVID, just in public restrooms, like at work, I'll say you see people just go ahead, use the stall, and then just walk up. You forgot to. Never mind. Like, come on, you don't wash your hands. And the reason I find this kind of funny is it's like once this whole COVID thing hits, we're out of toilet paper, we're out of hand sanitizer, we're out of hand soap. I'm like, how much do people need? Like
You guys weren't using it before anyway.
And you can still buy the same amount you were buying before. Just you say you get 1 or 2 packs of toilet paper or whatever, a 12-pack, 24-pack. You can still buy that same 12 or 20. It's still going to last the same amount of time, and then other people can get some. But you're going to go ahead and just, oh man,
You know how greed goes, man.
I was going to say, it shows when I know people say, we got to stand together when stuff goes down and stuff. It's like when stuff goes down, the first thing people do is buy up everything so other people can't get it.
I guess everybody's getting like their fallout shelter like ready, like for like when the world comes, and you're gonna be like hunkered down in your fallout shelter, and people are gonna be like, please help me, I need toilet paper, and you'd be like, no.
Yeah, what kind of goods you got to offer? What are you bartering with today? I need 3 eggs to make this cake.
I don't know. I just think it's like people thought it was going to be like the end of the world and you're going to be like in a fallout shelter and maybe you would be locked up there for like months, until everything, like the atmosphere had cleared out or something. Like a Twilight Zone episode or something,
No, I mean, this picture right here, this movie got it pretty much right. Oh, snap. Something occurred. People are dying. They're eating each other. Lock it all down. Everybody else, you're good. Stay here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how it would go. Day and night still comes. Life goes on. The only thing is, don't go over there.
Yeah, but they ended up going over there for money.
Right.
I feel like this I feel as far as just saying the zombies or something like that being locked in Vegas and there being a chunk of money there, I feel people would be greedy. Let's just go get this money. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
They're always going to be. You got to think about throughout history, treasure hunters and pirates. People always want to pillage and scourge and try to find what's left behind. You know what I mean? We're still digging up dirt looking for ancient civilizations, treasures and stuff. It's always going to be a thing. It depends on which aspect you're searching for it for. Do you want it for the historical value of the presence and learning something, or do you just want it for the greed, the dollar and what it's going to do for your financials? Big difference. The intention is always a big thing.
True.
That's true. You always have people doing that, like pirates, and even a lot of people breaking into the ancient pyramids and trying to steal all of the riches that the pharaohs were supposed to take into the next life. And they did say a lot of the people that pillaged the pyramids did end up dying mysteriously because supposedly the pyramids were cursed. There was curses that were laid there for anyone that attempted that,
And now something like that, I would love to see something like that. Not going in there and doing all that other disrespectful stuff, but just to see it and look at it, not to. Because I think you got to think about how mad would you be if somebody just walks in your house and just takes say your TV or something. Oh, I want this. Like, okay, that's not yours. That's mine. I know it's a little. You can say, well, they're buried. That's still theirs. But still, they were buried with those jewels. That's still theirs. Don't mess with it. So if you
Especially when they say, hey, these walls are inscribed with how many different curses to protect them through all the stages of the afterlife, and if you come in here and you're an intruder, you will die a horrible death. Yeah, that just makes me want to take something from there.
Nope.
Yeah, it's pretty ballsy to go in there and kind of challenge that. And then, the pharaohs had this stuff in the pyramids because they believe that they're taking all these things to the next life. So the belief religiously that they had was that the dead people were still utilizing these things.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see more Egyptian type horror stuff, but something that's like real serious and dark. Something
That would be cool.
Would be kind of fun. Like somebody going to rob a tomb and then just they're cursed and maybe their family's cursed for years and they got to figure out why. Maybe bring these jewels back, but make it like a horror type of thing, like a paranormal type of horror. Hollywood.
I think it's been done in the past. I think Tales from the Dark Side years ago might have had one of the skits was that.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting. And I think there was a vampire movie maybe in the 70s called maybe The Tomb or something like that, where a woman is unleashed from her pyramid.
Interesting. I would watch that though, but
it's a very B-rated kind of movie, but it's kind of fun. I think it was The Tomb or something like that. Okay. I like to watch these obscure B-rated movies, and I think I saw something like that years ago, where she's like a vampire and she's unleashed from a tomb, and she's like a pharaoh.
See, now that again sounds interesting. That sounds very interesting right there. So
it's been done a little bit, but why hasn't it been done more? And then, obviously we had the Universal Studio movie monsters. We had the Mummy, but everybody forgets about the Mummy compared to Dracula and Frankenstein, and even the Creature from the Black Lagoon. The Mummy, we always forget about the Mummy.
Yep. That's why we need we need something that's real dark and has maybe more of a serious tone to it for a Mummy. Yeah, a Pharaoh, all that stuff. I think it would do well. I think it would be awesome. Be very entertaining, and why not? I mean, they've tried a bunch of other things with horror. Why not? They do 1,000 remakes a year. It's why not just do something a little.
Well, I know Anne Rice did a couple books about a mummy, Ramses, I think, and the Mummy. Maybe turn those into movies because her books are so great. And, you could probably turn all of them into movies.
There you go.
And something like that might be kind of exciting. I love Anne Rice; she's really cool. I met her once years ago, and she was just so sweet too. Such a sweet person.
Awesome. Speaking of just because I mentioned remakes, did you guys see that they're doing I forgot who the director was doing it, but Christine,
they're remaking?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, Stephen King's Christine. Wow.
Now, funny story about this is so I love cars, which I love cars, but I got my father in the muscle cars and all that. He's not into horror at all. And this was maybe 5-6 years ago. I was at his house. He was channel surfing. I was just sitting on the couch watching TV with him. Christine just happened to be just starting. And just because he likes cars, we watched that movie. He's like, have you ever seen it before? I was like, no. And the first time I watched that movie was with my father. Both of us loving cars. And I watched the movie. I'm just like, wow, this movie is so awesome. And it was on regular TV, so of course there was a few things that were cut out. I ended up listening to the audiobook one day while I was working. Well, over the few days, loved the freaking book. Probably one of my favorite horror books because the book goes into so much. If you haven't read it or listened to that book, I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, I haven't. I read a lot of his Stephen King's novels, but not that.
It's awesome. And then of course I went back and watched the movie the regular version of the movie. I'm just I like this. Of course the book was better. That's how it always is. But I really enjoyed the movie. And I'm hoping with this remake or reboot, I know the guy said he does want to keep it set in the 80s. Just kind of, up it. I'm hoping that I'm hoping he sticks with the book, goes closer to the book than the movie actually did. I know the movie took some things from the book. I'm hoping he goes closer with the book and just knocks it out of the park. Because it's not. I won't say I don't have a favorite horror movie. That's just one of those ones. All right, come on, don't ruin this. There's certain ones I don't care. I'm if you make a remake or whatever, cool, I don't care. But there's ones I'm all right, if you're gonna remake this, you better do it right. Do it.
Well, it's an iconic horror movie. Stephen King has a few of these really unique and iconic stories that really kind of play upon, almost like our teenage mind and our most primal fears. He really Christine is a great one. The love of your car.
Yes.
And then twisting them into something kind of evil. Another one I was thinking about the other day was needful things, going to an antique shop,
Oh,
and then that can kind of twist it around into something like perverse,
have you ever seen the?
Killer, he has a lot of really cool stories.
Have you ever seen the Friday the 13th series? Not the movie, but the.
Yeah.
I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes at a friend's house a couple years ago.
I like that, right? Just because you were mentioning the antique thing. I like that a lot. Like I watched that a few years ago with my wife. I watched the first season or two, and I like how everything there's like cursed, and they have to get these. I thought that was a cool. Like I would like to see that being a full. I mean, I guess you kind of with the Conjuring, you get that kind of sort of, in a sense to where there's kind of sort of like with the Annabelle doll, and then like what other items that they've gotten throughout the movies. And they'll put it in that one room. But it would be cool if that, well, call it a different name, of course, but the Friday the 13th, that TV series thing, if that was a movie where they had to get certain items and get them back into the shop.
Okay.
Well, and people sometimes do believe certain items could have a spirit or a person attached to them, and things like that. That is kind of like a belief, among people that study the supernatural and the paranormal. So you never know.
I'm in the middle with that. Like, it's something that I feel like there is things there, but at the same time, I'm just like I do believe people do overdo it, overhype it, overkill it, and lie about it. Of course, but, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I believe it and I don't, but I don't want to find out the hard way at the same time. It's like, hey, Aaron, I just stole this from a tomb. Do you want to have this? No.
No.
I don't even want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to say. It reminds me like that old story, The Monkey's Paw.
Mm-hmm.
Like a cursed object. I'm somebody that I'm a tarot card reader. I study the metaphysical. I've done a lot of. I go to a lot of Santeria stores. I've done a lot of things with voodoo when I've gone to New Orleans and Jamaica. So there is that belief there. Like when I went into Rose Hall, which is like a haunted kind of house, in Jamaica, haunted by Annie Palmer, Voodoo Queen. I remember the tour guide was telling us like when when the slaves attacked and they had killed Annie Palmer, hundreds of years ago. They didn't just kill her knowing that she was a voodoo queen, but they destroyed all the pictures of her and broke all the mirrors. And I said, so she wouldn't come back. And they said, exactly, so she wouldn't come back.
Wow.
And there's that belief. And then they put her in the sarcophagus out around back that was sealed with a spell with crosses on every corner. So there was no way out. And then so you wonder, people have been doing things like this forever. There's always been a lot of superstition, and the belief in demons predates all of the world religions.
Yep.
And that's a fact.
I
so
do
who
feel,
knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say I do feel with stuff like that because I mean it's been going on for centuries and it still goes on now. There has to be some truth to it. It's just how far that truth goes. Of course, for movies, they have to make all the crazy stuff happen, or you're not going to watch it. Like if someone's like, "My house was haunted,"
Like truth sometimes is stranger than fiction. I'm sure you could, like, The Exorcist is based on a true story,
right?
Very, very much so. So sometimes, like, the truth is fertile enough to create a story. Like somebody told me a while ago at a party that they knew somebody, like they had gotten like a skull, right? An animal skull, like a coyote skull, at a flea market, and they brought it home, and they were getting bad vibes from it, So one of their friends was over, and they mentioned, I'm going to totally get rid of this thing because I just don't like having it in the house. So the friend was like, all right, well, I'll take it. I'll have a coyote skull. I'll put it in my apartment. Anyway, like a week later, the person that took the coyote skull died.
Whoa.
So, and then the person was like, wow, I feel guilty that I gave it to them because they died and it doesn't seem related, but they're like, I did kind of sense something weird about it, and then they took it and then they died, and it's like a weird coincidence and you just never know. And what if I hadn't given it to them?
Yep.
Would be alive today? I don't know. You know.
No, yep. There's that too. But and I'm one of those type of people where someone's like, I just, if I have this in my house, yes, it looks cool, but it gives me this weird vibe. Like, I
It
hear
ain't
things
staying.
when I wake up tonight. Aaron, do you want it? No. Throw it. Bring it to a museum.
You gotta like burn it or something. You know, you have to really get rid of it. You know, you probably have to do like what you would do. Like, I was raised Catholic. What you would do to like a religious object. You have to bury it or burn it. Something that you thought was cursed, I would bury it or burn it. You know, that's what you do with like palms and any kind of religious item. I think that's common. You bury it or burn it, much like you would almost treat like a human body.
Ah, yeah. After you pass, bury it.
Reverence,
Interesting.
a holy or cursed object. I think. I think we're getting into the metaphysical world, but yeah. Anything else, maybe wouldn't be a good idea. And you see that in movies. Like, I just saw that movie, The Unholy, and that was kind of a cool religious horror movie. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was in the movie theater. It was in the movie theater, actually. It was called The Unholy. And that had a similar idea where you have this cursed object and then we end up burying it,
I've been meaning to watch that movie. Chris, I'm going to have to
add here
to the horror wheel, The Unholy, because James just mentioned it the other day.
It was good. It was definitely a religious horror film, because that's like kind of like a genre that you get is like these religious horror movies that have like a religious undertone to them. And that one very, very much did. And I think the theme of that film was basically when God builds a church on the hill, the devil builds his chapel right next door. And that's pretty much the theme of the movie, is that. And also beware of false prophets. I guess that would be another theme. So, yeah, very cool movie, and I enjoyed it. I saw that in the movie theater. I've seen a bunch of movies during the pandemic in the movie theater. I'm like the only person that does that. I've seen at least 12 movies during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I go. There's like nobody there. I feel like the movie theater is a pretty safe place to be because you're not really in a confined space with other people. The ceiling isn't very high. It's a very big, wide open space. And you can position yourself pretty far from everyone. And at that time, we were all wearing masks and stuff. And you can decide if you want not to get popcorn or soda. That's your choice. And bring your Purell or whatever. So I saw like 12 movies, and I felt pretty safe.
There you go.
So
I haven't been to the movies since this whole thing started, but they've been closed. They've been closed for. What did they just open back up around here, Chris?
Couple months ago, maybe.
Oh, really? They, in New Jersey, they've been open pretty much throughout the pandemic. Just nobody realized it. But
New York was like the worst. Like AMC almost closed down completely and threatened bankruptcy and just completely shutting operation down because New York was just being such a red tape state like they usually are with everything. But yeah,
New Jersey was being pretty strict, but and I think some movie theaters that had maybe a huge outbreak probably did shut down. I guess it was theater by theater. But the Cinemark that had Army of the Dead, and I saw a number of other films there, did a really good job of, keeping everybody very social distance from each other. Like, as you go into the movie and, like, you can pick out your seat, beforehand on the screen when you're buying your ticket, it would tell you what seats were available, and you got in there and you were very much spaced from each other, They did an excellent job with it.
Let's see that. Oh, I can't wait to go to a theater again. I miss it so much. Just because, don't get me wrong, I do love there's times, because of course the convenience of watching a movie at home is you have to get up to use the bathroom, you can hit pause. If you fall asleep, you can start it over, whatever. You don't have to get dressed. You can watch a movie however you want, whatever you want to wear, you're fine. But for me, especially for horror movies, there's certain films you just I want to see this in theater because that experience, it's awesome. And it's one of those things where I hope theaters stay around for years to come. I hope it doesn't come to where everything's streaming just because it's a good getaway for a couple hours. It's fun to go to the theaters and see something.
Oh, for sure. I love the movie theater experience. I was going to say, too, I also did a focus group for a movie that's going to be released soon, too.
Awesome.
Like during the pandemic, I did that, like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 weeks ago or whatever, I did that. I think I found it on Instagram. I submitted myself because I was in the right demographic, and I went out and did a focus group, and they did a good job in managing that. Everybody had masks on, everybody was socially distanced. They had us fill out surveys at the end, and everybody had, like, I guess, like, a pen or whatever that had been sanitized. There's all these workarounds and stuff, but I don't think the movie theater is as high risk as you think, because again, you're in a very big open space with an extremely high ceiling. It's not like you're in a confined space with other people, and it's very easy to social distance from people and things like that. And especially now, most people really being vaccinated probably anyway.
Yeah, well, there's that too. And then for me and my wife, we usually go there in the matinee times just because teenagers are jerks. They don't know how to shut the hell up when you're watching a damn movie. And I don't want to beat up a teenager or worse, getting beat up by a teenager.
Sometimes it adds to the movie, like if you go somewhere where everybody's talking. Like I remember when I saw Creed 2, I saw it like in an urban environment, and everybody was like kind of saying things. So they're like, man, he sure got old, or like, I don't like her. Everybody was like talking real loud throughout the movie, but it was almost like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Funny. to have everybody kind of yelling things out at different points. I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show though too.
I think with those though, it depends on the movie. Like for example, I think it was The Conjuring when the first Conjuring came out. It was me, my wife, and my brother, and the movie theater, of course. And you hear at one point in the movie, I don't remember what happened in the movie, but it was something that just somebody got scared. And this lady was like, she just got scared. She was like, I can't take it. Blah, 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 blah. Somebody goes, we can't take it. To get the fuck out of here. I was laughing so hard. But like stuff like that doesn't bother me. Or like just like certain things with the movie. Like I've been in movies where like a certain scene happens and everybody's clapping. But just it's when people are talking throughout the whole entire movie and just being obnoxious. It's one thing like what you're saying where it's like the whole thing where it's like everybody there, it's like you're like one big family, so to speak, and you're just kind of like, oh shit at this part, or I can't stand this part, blah, 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 blah. But when people are just like conversating and on their phones and all this other, I'm just like,
there's definitely social etiquettes and social cues to enjoying the atmosphere and partaking with other people enjoying an event or whatnot. You know what I mean? So yeah, you just got to be mindful of that stuff.
Yeah, I like the participation films though too. Like before the pandemic, I saw The Room. With the director there, and you have your box of spoons that you're throwing and things like that. That was kind of fun. Yeah, The Room, they do that like as a participation kind of film. It's not a horror movie, The Room, but it's like considered like I guess one of the worst movies ever made, or worst best movies, or best worst. How you look at it. The Room. Yeah, that was kind of a fun one. And
right
yeah,
now, so many.
And they made it very Rocky Horror-esque. And they've done that with a couple movies, like Rocky Horror, I think Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, The Room, maybe some other movies. I heard even some people did that with Showgirls, like where they turned that into a performance kind of movie where you kind of make fun of it and act it out.
Gotcha.
Going into it, like if you're going to a theater and you know that's what's going to happen, that's one thing. But say you're going out with whoever, just your friends or whatever, and you're like, okay, I just want to go see this movie, and then you walk into it, it's that, and you don't know, you're walking, it's like, what the fuck? You're going to be mad as hell. But we do the matinee ones. One, again, like I said, it's quiet. The theater is like dead. And then two, it's affordable.
So, I like the matinee for the affordability of it. And I used to go to like the cheap movie theaters, like on like discount night and stuff like that. Like Cinemark by me has like Tuesday nights. I think it's like $6.75. So I usually do that one, and then I sometimes go to T-Nex Cinemas when I'm in New Jersey, and I think they have like $5 or $6, for like a matinee.
Yes.
Okay.
What is it? The Bowtie Theater here. I believe it's like $6 on Tuesdays, I believe. And then the matinee at the Rotterdam, which is this theater, is so outdated. But I like the nostalgia of it. I love the nostalgia of it. It's like $5-6 on the matinee, just like a regular day, and then I think the most expensive it gets is like $9, $9 or $10, like in the evening.
Wow.
It's not, and I mean, it could have changed since the pandemic, but it's not ridiculous like other theaters where it's like, okay, it's pretty much $15 for a ticket, and it's not even like a 3D film. Okay, so I gotta pay $30 for me and my wife for a ticket, another $75 for popcorn and soda. Yeah.
Oh, exactly right. We have one in Clifton. I think it's Allwood Cinema. I saw on the day it came out in the evening, King Kong versus Godzilla.
Okay.
$5.
Nice.
See, now that's
nice.
That was excellent. I ran into a bunch of my friends, and they're like, you come to this movie theater because the other ones were sold out because it's opening night. I said, no, I came to this movie theater because it's $5.
$5, man.
Yeah, hey, I came here. It's cheap. And I'm seeing the same freaking thing. Seeing the same
and then
thing.
I'm more likely to spend money on all the fun snacks I like to get.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, I did see. This may have been about 3 or 4 years now. I want to say it had to have been maybe the 35th year anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe.
Oh wow.
And so I believe it was Regal Cinemas. I don't know if it was all across the country with Regal or just here. I don't know how far Regal goes, but they're doing like 80s prices. So I think the movies were like $5 a piece. Popcorn and soda was like $5 for like the big stuff, like $5. And there wasn't that many people in the theater, but there was a snowstorm that day. And my wife and I were like, we're going through this because I wanted like. One thing I would love, and I've been saying this for years, is if they had a theater that all they showed was either just horror movies or even just old school horror movies or just old school movies in general, like 80s movies. And, you know, each day they had a certain, like, okay, today's horror, tomorrow's action, whatever the case may be. And I really feel like people would love that. I say horror because there's horror fans all over the place that we'll travel to watch a movie. We'll travel to go to these cons. And I feel like a lot of people would possibly travel if there's like a theater that just is any horror movie you want to look. We're going to see these movies because people will go back and see like. We also seen Jaws. That was at the Bowtie Cinema though. On the big screen, that was
that's classic.
It'd be cool to see some of these classic films and seeing how I'm not intelligent enough and it doesn't exist to make a time machine and go back and see these films like when they first came out in theaters. But with my mindset of already seeing them, to see how people are seeing like The Exorcist for the very first time in theaters. Like I would love to be able to do that. To see how these people, you know, because what they come out in the 74, 70 something. People have never seen anything like that before. And I would like to go there and see something like that in theaters during those times. Certain Texas Chainsaw Massacre is another one because they were really showing films like they were just getting to that next level of film to where now when you see certain films, you're just like, oh, well, okay, that's not that outrageous. Especially if you're a horror fan, like all the craziest we've seen over the years, especially from the '80s, you're just like, okay. So it'd be cool to see these movies when they came out, like with these people that are just like, oh my god, we don't get that anymore. That's one thing I do wish I got to experience because I was a kid when all that came out.
Yeah, it's hard to find things that are that revolutionary or that brand new because we're so desensitized to it and we've seen literally almost anything you could ever think of. Not that I don't know why people think of some of this stuff, but hey, it creates a genre and fans.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I've done stuff like with movie theater experiences that kind of even predates that theater experience, where there's like a movie theater in Jersey City that I think dates back to the vaudeville era. And they have like that thing that's not really like an organ really, but it looks like an organ that they used to play during the silent films. And I went there to see Phantom of the Opera, which was a silent film with Lon Chaney. And that I really like because that's like so like I don't know, probably like 1920 something, kind of experience. It's like such a really antiquated experience as a theatrical thing, and they had the person playing like the organ thing, and they have like the silent film going on, and we're all sitting in this theater, and it's and it really encapsulates a certain time period, and they had restored the theater to look more or less like it had in that time period. And I'm just like, wow,
I get it.
Yeah, I love the nostalgia of things like that, and that's why I was saying with the one theater by me, part of me wishes they would like make it nicer and update it some. And then another part of me is like if they did make it nice and update it, but keep the nostalgia look to it, like make it more comfortable at least the seats, but keep the nostalgia like old school look to it because it's just I don't know. You kind of like that grittiness, especially when it comes to horror. That's again another thing I always say is like with Blu-rays and DVDs. I wish you could have the option to watch it to where it would look how it would look on a VHS, but you're watching on a Blu-ray or
Oh
DVD.
hell no! I'm sorry, you are alone in that sentiment. I will never go back. Nope. High definition all the way, Blu-ray for me, crystal clear. I need it.
I love the crystal clearness of it, but at the same time, like a movie like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're watching it on Blu-ray, but then when you go back and when you remember watching it like on VHS, it takes away that grittiness. It kind of takes away the fear a little bit because everything is so clean and pretty, and you see everything. You see like I'll use Friday the 13th because that's my favorite slasher, and it's like you see the prettiness of it instead of just like the parts that the VHS would hide because the technology wasn't that great. So you don't see it. It's pretty. It's darker. It's more grim. And now it's just like, okay, I see everything. I know it. I mean, I've seen the movies thousands of times. That's besides the point. But I love that grittiness. And if it's like, again, say you get the Blu-ray or the DVD, you have the option to either watch it the Blu-ray version or DVD version or the VHS version. So it's not like you have to watch the VHS. You can go back for that nostalgia. You don't have to worry about your VHS getting chewed up in the VCR because you watched the movie too many times, and you got to take it apart and roll it up. The big white thing's rolling it up with a pencil or something to pull it, or your finger pulling it hard trying to save the tape before the thing rips. Yeah, I don't miss that. But
if it does rip, getting out the Scotch tape, trying to mend it, hoping that when it does play, it just skips right to that spot where you need it to be.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how technology changes. I was out with a friend recently that's like in his 20s, and he bought like a record from somebody for a couple bucks, and he put it in his car, and it was a hot day, and I happened to say to him, I'm like, Jason, I'm like, records melt, right?
Yeah, you might want to take
Son, did you? He's like, oh my God. He's like, records melt? He's like, I didn't know that. He's like, I put it right in my back window of my car and it's like 85 degrees.
That's the worst.
So we went over there and it was just starting to like bend.
Bow and stuff, yep.
Oh.
Yeah, because he didn't realize that records melt. And I said that's why, I guess it became outdated. And I only knew that because I've dated a couple guys that were really into like their like record collections, like even to this day that like have like recently that have record collections. Because some people are really just into that vintage stuff,
Mm-hmm.
They are. People are really. Some people are really into VHS. They're really into records. They even probably cassette tapes, like laser disc. God knows what. I dated one guy. He had, I think, a collection of like 20,000 VHS in his basement. One of the largest collections around. He was in a documentary on it, and then he also had a record collection. And you have to be so careful with these records, like buying them like at a garage sale or flea market, and you're taking them home.
Now, I want a record player. I mean, they make them now with Bluetooth and all that, which is cool. But what it is with records, I like the cracklingness of it. I like that crackling of the record. Like I love the nostalgia of those things. Like, I mean, I couldn't have the 20,000 VHSs, but again, you put them on the Blu-ray, you put them on the streaming thing, and I guarantee, at least in the horror community, I know this because I see a lot of people in the horror community buying VHS tapes, trading VHS tapes, and all that other stuff. So I'm like, I know that if they can get a Blu-ray and it's like, okay, it'll look just like the VHS. Someone, okay, I'll just do this. It'll be easier to get. And again, you have the option of watching it how it was. And same with records. Like I just like the sound of it. And movies like what was it, Insidious? Actually, Insidious and The Conjuring, when they're playing records in the film with those creepy scenes or whatever. I love it. That's like one of my favorite parts of the scenes. And I pointed it out to you the other day, Chris. I'm like, yep. What I like about those scenes too is they make it important. Like they'll have it as like a happy scene. Say the kids or the mom and dad are listening to the song and they're happy dancing, and then they go to bed. All of a sudden, everybody's in bed and they hear the record playing. I'm just like, okay, this is wild stuff. But I like that. I like that because it's always like that happy song that they make it creepy now. They make it scary now. So like when people, I'm sure some people hear that song like, You know, I heard that Insidious. You got to turn that off now. That's off there. Turn it off. It scares me. Oh man. I know now, Genoveva. I'm sorry. This went longer than I initially told you.
Oh yeah. I was just thinking I need to like eat before I get cranky.
So we can wrap this up right now. Everybody, Genoveva's. I'm trying to think of where the description is. It's either up top or down below, wherever you're watching, or wherever you're going to watch in the future. Click the link. Follow her on social media and all that stuff. People not in person, because that's called stalking. We're not going to do that. So, but follow her. Make sure you watch her movies, the films that she's in. Make sure you watch that chicken film that I want to see, people, because I'm excited about that. Like
Attack of the Killer Chickens.
Films. You know, I look at my IMDb. Right now, I think at like 109 films on my IMDb. So check them out. Some of them are on Amazon Prime. I think quite a few of them are, probably dozens. And some are probably on Redbox or Netflix and things like that. Some of them are available on DVD. You know, check out some of my work. And if you go on YouTube, you can look at my acting reel. And I think there are some short films that I did as well.
Awesome. So go check all those out. And I'd love to get you back on here and review a movie with us one of these days.
Sounds good. Sure.
Awesome. Well, I won't hold you up anymore.
Okay.
Again, thank you.
I went to the gym right before the interview.
I was gonna say, yeah, you gotta get that protein. You gotta go get that meal. Get back in your replenish.
Exactly right. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Take care.
Take care. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure. Bye.
Nice.
All right, Chris, you want to? I'm going to spin the wheel really quick, and then we can.
Yeah, be my guest.
Share screen. And here we go.
What we got?
It'll be something if it's unholy, because a lot of times I've been putting, like, somebody's like put a movie, it just ends
you
up.
Put it on the wheel?
Yeah, I was doing it. Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
I was like, just because I've been meaning to do.
It almost landed on it too. What is that? 13 Ghosts?
13, but it's from the 1960s.
The original.
13 Ghosts from the 1960s.
Oh, dude, if you like those old school movies, man, yeah, like House on Haunted Hill and shit, yeah, you're gonna enjoy it.
Kyle, you know Kyle, he's the one who suggested this movie, and Kyle actually said he'll be on Thursday. So
awesome.
13 Ghosts.
13 Ghosts.
Is what we're reviewing next. James and Kyle, make sure you guys are ready. I'll be ready. Chris, you be ready?
I'll watch it. Like I said, I love the 13 Ghosts. It's literally one of my favorite movies. The remake with the guy who played Shaggy in Scooby-Doo.
Oh, I don't like it, but I like that.
Yeah, but still, one of my favorite horror movies.
No, it was good, and that's a movie that I feel would be a dope.
They need either a series or miniseries or something going more in depth into the stories of the ghosts.
That's what I was gonna say. I think a series would be the best way to do it. And I say that because you figure you can do a series, you can do an episode, say you can do an hour episode, you can do a 45-minute episode, but you can focus it on each ghost, one episode per ghost to kind of see like how they got to where they're at. Save the girl ghost for last, because that's like the most popular one. But say you start out with them maybe being a ghost, and within like the first 15 minutes of it. And then it goes into how they became the ghost, and
how the hell did they even get trapped and end up there in the house? Exactly. And like,
there's so much you can do with that.
Why did they get picked to be the ones that were caged in the house?
Yeah, and then how the people come and see, like, then you can see like after they get those trapped in the house, like, because how the people go to the house and all this other stuff, all that stuff that happened in the movie, you can make that episodes, but make it more so as like maybe more people go there, maybe more people die there, and all kinds of craziness, and just. Yeah, they could do it. I think they should do it.
They can. If they want to. They should. I like I said, 13 Ghosts, I saw it in the theaters when it first came out. One of, to me, the scariest experiences I've ever had in a theater. I loved it. And to this day, still certain spots in that movie still get me like heebie-jeebie, creepy crawly feeling, hair raised down my arms and back. Like, dude, it's a dope movie. And the effects of like the glasses and shit, like for the time that it was, they did a really great job to me.
Agreed.
Like I said, one of my favorite horror movies. Period. Besides, obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street, which
I think they did a really good job with it as well, and I feel that I think a series would do justice more than a movie because in a movie, you figure say it's an hour and a half to 2 hours. You can only tell so much because you have to throw all that clumped together versus a series. Season 1, 13 episodes. You're figuring out who the ghosts are. It's like a origin story of each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Season you can kind of get more into depth of everything. You could do like two. You could make like a 3-season thing, 3-4 season thing, 2, 3, 4 seasons, and be
Do it
done
as
with it.
stages. Do it as like their normal human life, their transition to the afterlife, and then how they get caught and how they go on thing, and then when they break loose in the house, like break it all up into 3 segments of this story.
Exactly. I mean, you want to
Netflix, are you listening? If you made Army of the Dead, you can make the 13 Ghost prehistoric.
You can. But with that being said, people,
are we actually going to rate this movie or no? It was just the interview tonight.
We can rate it.
You want to watch it again? You want to watch it again? I get it.
Watch it again, but we could rate it. I know James gave it an 8.
James gave it an 8.
What do you give it?
I like you said, I was in the middle. I was like today, I was right around a 6.5, 7. I'm gonna land right on the 7 just because of all the undertones and stuff that I picked up on, and then like she verified them, and then she said a couple of things. So I don't know if you guys were listening, but when you watch the movie and you pick up on some of the things that we discussed and she said, like one of the things is I'm just gonna say the vault. You pick up what she said about the vault and what's going on, you'll realize probably where the story's going or what's perpetuating for the prequels or whatnot. I'm telling you, it should click if you watch the movie with the detail. Pay attention at the vault.
I'm with you on that. Honestly, my initial rating for this movie was a 4. I'll bump it up to a 5, and then once I give it a rewatch, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna re-review it, but if I think about it when I do a rewatch, I'll give you guys an update on how I feel about the movie. I still feel like even with the undertones and stuff, I thought it was, it made it more entertaining for me, but still, if it was more geared horror based, I would have enjoyed it more.
Yep, that's where I'm at with it as well. Because like you said it initially when you first started watching it, you just texted me and was like, this honestly feels more like an action flick. And literally within 10 minutes of me watching the movie, I was like, okay, so this is going to be an action film because it's, like you said, it's daytime all the time. There's a lot going on as far as action. There's character development or whatnot, but then it turns into it's a heist movie. There's a job to get done. Here's why we're going in, and it has nothing to do with scares and jumps and visceralness. And it's just okay. Here's the zombies. Here's how it works in this world. Here's what we're gonna go do, and we have a job to do. So the focus of the movie is the job, and then you get the relationships as that underlining focus underneath that. You know what I mean? But yeah, like you said, totally 100% action movie. Has zombies in it and has elements of horror shot to it. You know what I mean? As far as the scenes and the way it's shot.
Some people might say this is simple, and this will be my last thing before we bounce. Oh, I'm tired. I'm hot. I gotta check this out. But no. What I was gonna say is, even if this movie was shot at night, that right there would have made it better for me.
Yeah,
that right there would have made it a little bit better for me, just because it would have made it, just that creepier factor. But overall, I had a fun time with the movie. I will say the movie was fun. I'll never tell you not to watch a movie. It wasn't a bad movie. Just wasn't for me, but that's not a bad thing. Not everything's for everybody. I say
you got through it at least.
Yeah, at the very least, go check it out. See how you feel about it, and be here for Thursday when we're reviewing 13 Ghosts from 1960. I can't wait for that. Chris, I want to thank you again for hopping on, man.
I was just going to thank you, sir.
So you're going to have to come on for like an initial review now and see how this
like
is
when man. Whatever you need.
Yeah, man. We'll talk. But everybody out there, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. Make sure you go follow Worst Gamer.
Worst damn gamer ever, everywhere. And
yes.
It's not EVER at the end, it's EVR. Worst damn gamer ever. Check me out. Peace.
That being said, as always, people, I'll see you in your nightmares. And just so nobody calls me out, his hat pretty much matches the movie cover. That's one. Okay. Here's two. R. Kelly would have peed on some zombies.
I'm out.